John Miller watched the alien representatives file into the massive chamber. The Galactic Council's meeting hall on Alpha Centauri stretched before him like a giant bowl, with hundreds of platforms floating at different heights. Each platform held delegates from different worlds. Some had scales, others had too many limbs to count, and a few were just clouds of gas contained in special suits. John straightened his blue diplomatic uniform and touched the small Earth pin on his chest. He was 53 years old, with gray starting to show in his dark hair, and he had spent most of his life as a Navy captain before becoming Earth's first galactic diplomat. Now, everything depended on him. "Nervous?" asked Maria Wells, his assistant. She was younger, with quick eyes that missed nothing. "Would you believe me if I said no?" John replied with a small smile. Maria shook her head. Not for a second. 15 years ago, Dr. Eliza Daniels had changed everything with her quantum drive. The invention made faster-than-light travel possible, and suddenly, humanity wasn't alone anymore. First contact had been peaceful, if awkward. The galactic community was already thousands of years old, with hundreds of species trading, fighting, and living together under the loose control of the Galactic Council. Today was Earth's formal application to join that community. A tall, blue-skinned alien approached their platform. This was Ambassador Krell of the Vosh Confederacy, one of the species that had seemed friendly to humans. "Captain Miller," Krell said in his clicking voice, "I must warn you, the council session today will not go as you hope." John frowned. "What do you mean?" "Our application meets all the requirements." "Politics," Krell said simply. "The Zelar Imperium has been working against you. They see humans as a threat." "A threat? We've barely left our solar system," Maria said. "You achieved in 15 years what took most species centuries," Krell replied. "You adapt too quickly. The Zelar don't like that." Before John could respond, a deep tone sounded through the chamber. The session was beginning. The council leader, a tall insect-like being named Trowel, called the meeting to order. After some standard business, she finally said, "We will now consider Earth's application for council membership." John stood and walked to the central platform that rose up from the floor. Thousands of alien eyes watched him. "Distinguished representatives," he began, "Earth comes before you as a young spacefaring civilization, eager to learn and contribute. We bring new perspectives, technologies, and cultural riches. We seek peaceful trade and exchange of knowledge. We have met all technical requirements for membership and ask for your welcome." His speech was short, as council custom demanded. John returned to his seat, feeling confident. Earth's application was strong. They had established peaceful contact, respected boundaries, and shown they could follow galactic laws. The Zelar representative stood next. High Admiral Vor was tall with red-gold scales, and 6 eyes arranged in a circle around his head. The Zelar controlled the largest military force in known space. "The Zelar Imperium objects to Earth's membership," Vor said without preamble. "Humans have shown alarming tendencies toward violence, territorial expansion, and technological development, without proper ethical constraints." John sat up straight. This was unexpected. "Their history is filled with warfare," Vor continued. "They developed nuclear weapons before achieving unified planetary government. They consume resources at an unsustainable rate. And most concerning, they have adapted our technologies and improved upon them at an unprecedented pace." Murmurs spread through the chamber. John could see some representatives nodding in agreement. The Zelar moved to ban Earth from council membership, restrict human ships from established trade routes, and limit human expansion beyond their home system, Vor concluded. The chamber erupted in noise. John stood to object, but council protocol prevented him from speaking until called upon. For the next 3 hours, representatives argued. Some defended Earth, noting humanity's artistic achievements, scientific innovations, and rapid progress toward peaceful planetary governance. Others sided with the Zelar, expressing fears about human unpredictability. John noticed something important. The representatives of resource-rich systems mostly opposed Earth, while those with fewer resources or military power supported humans. This wasn't about ethics. It was about power and competition. Finally, the vote came. Earth's application was rejected by 172 votes to 131. Worse, the Council imposed restrictions that effectively isolated Earth from the galactic community. "This is outrageous," Maria whispered, her face pale with anger. John remained expressionless as he accepted the ruling. Inside, he felt a cold fury building. The real reason for their rejection was clear: fear of competition. Ambassador Krell approached as the session ended. "I am sorry, my friend. This decision was made before you even spoke." "What happens now?" John asked. "You return to Earth. Your ships must stay within your solar system's heliopause. No colonization of other systems. Limited trade with approved partners only," Krell explained. "Essentially, you are contained." John nodded slowly. "Thank you for your honesty, Ambassador." The journey back to Earth was silent and tense. John spent most of it drafting his report to President Samantha Wright, trying to find a way to explain the devastating news. When he arrived, the president called an emergency meeting with global leaders. They gathered in the United Nations headquarters. In New York, faces grim as John explained what had happened. "So they fear us," President Wright said after hearing the full story. "They fear what we might become," John corrected. "The Zealer and their allies see us as potential rivals. The ban isn't about our past violence, it's about preventing our future growth." Dr. Eliza Daniels, the inventor of the quantum drive, spoke up. She was in her 60s now with silver hair and sharp eyes. "What they've done is actually quite foolish." "Foolish?" asked Admiral Peter Garcia. "They've cut us off from the galaxy. They've cut us off from their restrictions and control," Daniels replied. "Think about it. Every technology we've seen from them has rules and limitations built in. Trade is regulated. Colonization is restricted. Research is directed." The room grew quiet as people considered her words. "They've made a grave mistake," Daniels said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They think they've contained us, they've only removed our restraints." President Wright stood up, her decision made. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have two paths before us. We can accept this containment and hope the Council changes its mind someday. Or we can forge our own path." She looked around the room. "The Council has rejected us because they fear our potential. Perhaps it's time to show them what humans can really do." John felt a chill run down his spine. He knew that tone. It was the same one that had driven humans to cross oceans, reach the moon, and develop the quantum drive. Admiral Garcia, the president, said, "How quickly can we adapt our ships for stealth operations beyond Council monitoring capabilities?" 6 months, maybe less," Garcia replied. "Dr. Daniels, could we establish colonies in nearby systems without being detected?" The scientist nodded slowly. "There are gaps in their surveillance network. We found several during our early explorations." "Then we have work to do," President Wright said firmly. "The Council has banned Earth from their galactic community. So be it. We'll build our own." 5 years passed since Earth's rejection from the Galactic Council. To outside observers, humans had accepted their fate. Earth focused on internal affairs, improving life for its 10 billion citizens. The few alien traders permitted to visit reported that humans seemed content with their containment. Nothing could be further from the truth. Kate Martinez stood on the bridge of the scout vessel Northern Star. At 36, she was one of Earth's most experienced space captains, with dark hair kept short for space travel and eyes that missed nothing. The ship hummed quietly around her, its systems designed to leave minimal energy signatures. "Status report," she said. Alan Watson, her navigation specialist, looked up from his console. He was younger than Kate, with steady hands and a calm voice. "We're well beyond the heliopause, Captain. No sign of Council monitoring, boys. We're officially in unclaimed space." "Any ships on long-range scanners?" Kate asked. "Nothing," replied Olivia Rodriguez, the ship's xenobiologist. She had joined the mission to study any life forms they might discover. "This region seems completely empty." Kate nodded, satisfied. This was the 5th mission of Operation Pathfinder, the secret program to explore space beyond Council control. So far, every mission had confirmed the same surprising fact. Vast regions of space were completely ignored by the Council races. "It's strange," Olivia said, reviewing stellar maps at her station. "We're only 20 light-years from busy Council trade routes, but they never come this way. It's like they only developed along certain corridors." "Their loss," Kate replied. "Our gain." The Northern Star continued its mission, mapping star systems and identifying planets that could support human life. After 3 weeks, they had cataloged 14 potentially habitable worlds, all untouched by alien civilizations. "It's amazing," Alan said as they prepared to return home. "Thousands of habitable systems must exist in these dead zones they've never bothered to explore." Kate looked at the map they had created. "The Council didn't contain us," she said quietly. "They pushed us toward open territory." Back on Earth, William Parker studied reports from the Pathfinder missions in his underground office. As Earth's Chief of Covert Operations, he coordinated all activities that happened beyond the Council's knowledge. At 50, his face showed the stress of keeping the biggest secret in human history. "The Northern Star's data confirms our theory," he told President Wright during a secure meeting. The Council races expanded along specific routes, leaving huge areas unexplored. The President nodded. "And our shipyards?" "Operating at full capacity," Parker replied. "The facilities throughout the Kuiper Belt are invisible to Council observers. We've completed 20 colony ships and 50 patrol vessels." Dr. Daniels, now serving as Chief Science Advisor, added, "The new engines work perfectly. By studying alien technology without Council restrictions, we've created drives that are faster and more efficient than anything they use." "What about weapons?" Admiral Garcia asked. "Our ships carry energy weapons reverse-engineered from limited alien technology," Parker explained. "We've improved them in ways the Council wouldn't expect. These ships bear no markings, have falsified signatures, and are crewed by personnel who officially don't exist." President Wright studied the holographic display showing Earth's secret fleet. "How soon can we establish our first colony?" "The preparations for Alpha Colony are complete," Parker said. "The colonists have been training for 3 years. They're ready." 2 months later, the colony ship Dawn Seeker left Earth's solar system, carrying 2,000 colonists to a planet 26 light-years away. The ship moved through unmonitored space, leaving no trace of its passage. Susan Ford stood at the viewport with her husband Ryan and their 2 children as they approached their new home. The planet grew larger in the window, a beautiful blue-green world with 2 small moons. "It looks like Earth," their 10-year-old son said. "It will be our Earth now," Susan replied. She was an engineer, chosen for the colony because of her skills with environmental systems. Ryan was a doctor. Every colonist had been selected for their abilities and their willingness to start a new life away from Earth, building humanity's future in secret. The colony ships carried everything needed to establish a self-sufficient settlement: prefabricated buildings, power generators, farming equipment, and manufacturing facilities. Within 6 months, Alpha Colony, officially named New Hope by its residents, was fully operational. More colonies followed. Each was established in carefully selected star systems all outside Council space. Strict communication protocols were established to avoid detection. Messages between colonies were carried by special courier ships, rather than transmitted through space where they might be intercepted. Earth's covert expansion continued for years without the Council noticing. By the 15th year after rejection, humans had established 12 colonies with a total population of nearly 100,000. Back in the solar system, hidden shipyards produced more vessels each year. A new generation of ships emerged, incorporating advances that came from freedom to experiment without Council regulations. These ships were smaller, faster, and more adaptable than anything in known space. Earth itself maintained the appearance of a contained civilization. Official representatives dealt with Council traders and occasionally protested the restrictions, keeping up the pretense that humans remained limited to their home system. The truth was very different. Human scouts had mapped hundreds of star systems. Colony ships departed regularly. Resources from the new colonies began flowing back to Earth through secret supply lines. William Parker, now 65 but still running covert operations, met with President Wright's successor, President Edward Nelson, to review the program's progress. The Council remains completely unaware of our activities, Parker reported. Our latest intelligence indicates they believe humans have given up on expansion. President Nelson smiled. Their arrogance blinds them. How many systems do we now control? 23 fully established colonies, Parker replied. Outposts in another 32 systems. Mining operations in 17 more. And our technological progress. Impressive, Parker said. Without Council restrictions, our scientists have developed in different directions than alien civilizations. Dr. Daniels's team has created artificial gravity systems more advanced than anything the Council uses. Our ships are now faster and more energy efficient. The President nodded, satisfied. Continue the expansion. The Council feared what humanity might become if allowed into their community. Let's show them they were right to be afraid, but for all the wrong reasons. In deep space, Kate Martinez, now an admiral commanding a fleet of exploration vessels, discovered something unexpected. Her ships encountered a pre-FTL civilization on the verge of discovering faster-than-light travel. These aliens, the Trillari, had been abandoned by the Council races who deemed their system too far from established routes to be worth including. We have an opportunity here, Kate told Earth Command. These people could be allies rather than competitors. The decision was made quickly. Rather than hiding from the Trillari, humans would make contact, not as representatives of Earth but as members of what they now called the Shadow Alliance, an organization that officially didn't exist but was growing stronger every day. As Kate's ship prepared for first contact with the Trillari, she reflected on how far humanity had come. Banned from the galactic community, they had built the beginnings of their own interstellar nation, hidden in the shadows of the Council's ignorance. The silent expansion of humanity was about to enter its next phase. 20 years had passed since Earth's rejection from the Galactic Council. What began as a secret expansion had grown into something much larger. Humans now controlled over 50 star systems in the galactic dead zones that the Council had ignored. Demeter was the first and largest human colony outside the solar system. Named after the goddess of growth and abundance, the planet had rich soil and mild seasons. Its population had grown to nearly 1 million people. Unlike Earth, which maintained the appearance of accepting Council restrictions, Demeter had never known alien control. Commander Grace Sullivan walked through the central plaza of New Athens, Demeter's capital city. At 42, she had spent half her life building the Shadow Alliance. Her brown hair was cut short, and her gray eyes missed nothing. As head of intelligence operations, she coordinated a vast network of informants and agents who operated throughout Council space. She entered a nondescript building and took the elevator to the underground levels. The intelligence hub spread out before her, a large room filled with analysts monitoring communications and data feeds from across the galaxy. "Commander," her assistant said, "Frank Collins is here to see you." Grace nodded. Collins was the chief engineer of the Revolutionary Sciences Division, the group responsible for developing technologies that Earth could never have created under Council restrictions. The two met in her private office. Collins was older than Grace, with weathered hands that showed years of practical work. He placed a small device on her desk. "We've perfected the gravity manipulation technology," Collins said with pride. "This prototype can create localized gravity fields stronger or weaker than standard. The applications are enormous, from construction to weapons." Grace picked up the device. "How does it compare to Council technology?" "They have nothing like it," Collins replied. "Their gravity tech uses twice the energy for half the effect. Our industrial capacity now exceeds what we could have achieved under their restrictions." "That's exactly what we need," Grace said. "The Council's ban forced us to find our own solutions. Now those solutions are better than theirs." Collins nodded. "Human ships are smaller, faster, and more adaptable than anything in known space. We can outrun or outfight most Council vessels." Grace activated her display screen. "We may need those advantages soon. Look at this." The screen showed movement, patterns of Zelar ships near the borders of Council space. The Zelar Imperium is expanding military operations along their borders, Grace explained. They're becoming more aggressive. Against us? Collins asked with concern. Not directly. They don't know we exist. Not yet, Grace said. But they're pressuring smaller council races. Several are being economically strangled by Zelar trade policies. She switched the display to show various alien worlds. The Trillari were just the first. We've identified 7 more non-council species suffering under Zelar influence. They're doing to others what they feared we would do. It's time for the next phase, Collins said quietly. Grace nodded. We can't hide forever. And maybe we shouldn't. Later that week, Grace attended a high-level meeting in the government complex. The room held 20 people. Colony leaders, military commanders, and scientific directors from across human space. They gathered around a large table with Earth's President Nelson joining by secure holographic link. The Shadow Alliance has reached a critical point, the President began. We must decide our next steps carefully. Admiral Kate Martinez, now the commander of humanity's growing fleet, spoke first. The Trillari Alliance has proven successful. Their ships now carry our technology, and their people have flourished. We should expand this model. I agree, said Jason Beck, a man in his 30s who served as Earth's unofficial ambassador to non-council races. I've prepared a formal protocol for future contact with other civilizations. Beck displayed a document titled First Contact Protocol. This establishes guidelines for approaching new species, he explained. We offer partnership without subjugation, technology and protection in exchange for cultural exchange and mutual development. It's the opposite of what the Council does. The group discussed the proposal, refining details and considering risks. What if the Council discovers us? Asked one colony leader. They will eventually, President Nelson said, but by then we need to be strong enough that they can't simply crush us. We need allies, resources, and technological advantages. The meeting continued for hours as they debated the benefits and dangers of revealing themselves to more species. Eventually, they reached consensus. The first contact protocol is approved, the President announced. We will begin approaching selected civilizations in regions the Council has neglected. Over the next 3 years, human ships made contact with 17 non-council species. Each time, they followed the same pattern, offering help without demands, providing technology that improved lives and establishing mutual defense agreements. The Shadow Alliance grew stronger. Human innovation combined with alien perspectives created technological breakthroughs at an unprecedented rate. Trading networks developed in the spaces between council territories, creating a parallel economy that operated entirely outside council control. One evening, Grace Sullivan received an urgent message from a monitoring station near Trillari space. She immediately called an emergency meeting with Admiral Martinez and other key leaders. The Zelar have sent a military force to the Trillari system, Grace reported. They claim they're conducting a routine patrol, but our intelligence suggests they've discovered the rare mineral deposits on Trillari's outer planets. The Trillari can't defend themselves against a full Zelar battle group, Admiral Martinez said, even with the technology we've provided. Then we need to help them, said Paul Harris, the military commander of the Demeter Defense Forces. Grace looked around the room. This would mean directly opposing a council race. It would risk exposing our existence. If we do nothing, the Trillari will be conquered or destroyed, Martinez replied. And the Zelar will gain those resources to fuel further expansion. The decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Within hours, a small fleet of human ships departed for Trillari space. They traveled quietly, using the stealth technology that had kept humanity hidden for 2 decades. When the Zelar fleet arrived at Trillari, they expected an easy conquest. Instead, they found a defense grid of human design and Trillari operation. When they attempted to disable the outer planet's defense, systems' hidden weapons platforms activated. The battle was brief but decisive. 3 Zelar ships were disabled and the rest retreated in confusion, unable to understand the technology they had encountered. News of the defeat spread through Council space. Official Zelar reports claimed they had encountered unknown forces in what they considered their territory. Rumors began to circulate about a mysterious new power operating beyond Council borders. Back on Demeter, Grace Sullivan received reports from her agents throughout Council space. The Council is in disarray, she told the Leadership Committee. The Zelar are demanding investigation and action, but smaller Council races are secretly pleased to see them pushed back. "What's our next move?" Paul Harris asked. Grace displayed a map showing human territory and allied systems. "We've been building in the shadows for 20 years. We've created something the Council never expected, an alliance of equals rather than a hierarchy of control. Is it time to step into the light?" Admiral Martinez asked. Grace nodded slowly. "I think it is. Not as supplicants asking for admission, but as a power in our own right. The Shadow Alliance is ready to emerge from the shadows. The path ahead would not be easy, but humanity and its allies were prepared. What began as Earth's rejection had become the foundation of something new, a different kind of empire built on cooperation rather than conquest. The defense of Trillari changed everything. For 30 years, humans had operated in secret, building colonies and forming quiet alliances. Now the galaxy was buzzing with rumors about a mysterious new power that had defeated Zelar ships. Lisa, Howard stood on the bridge of her ship, the Horizon Dawn. At 41, she had dark skin, short black hair, and the calm confidence that came from years of command. Her ship was approaching a planet called Nerva, home to a pre-FTL civilization on the verge of extinction. "Scan complete, Captain," said her science officer. "The planet's ecosystem is failing. Massive pollution in the atmosphere and oceans." Lisa nodded grimly. "Another victim of the Vosh Confederacy?" "Yes, ma'am. The Vosh stripped their neighboring planets of resources and abandoned the region. The Nervans lacked the technology to fix the damage. This was exactly why the Shadow Alliance had created the First Contact Protocol. The Council races, particularly the Vosh and Zelar, often exploited developing worlds and left them to die when resources were depleted. "Open a channel," Lisa ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves." The view screen showed a nervous-looking alien with pale blue skin and large eyes. This was Kel, a leader among the Nervans. "We detected your ship," Kel said, in a shaky voice. "Have you come to take what little we have left?" Lisa shook her head. "No, Kel. We've come to help. My name is Captain Lisa Howard of the Shadow Alliance. We know what the Vosh did to your system and we want to offer assistance." Kel looked suspicious. "What do you want in return? We have nothing of value." "We want partners, not servants," Lisa explained. "We'll help you restore your world and provide technology to prevent this from happening again. In exchange, we ask that you join our alliance and help others when you're able." Over the next several months, human scientists and engineers worked with the Nervans to clean their oceans and atmosphere. They provided medical aid for diseases caused by pollution and taught the Nervans how to build sustainable industries. Meanwhile, Jason Beck traveled between alliance worlds, formalizing agreements and establishing communication networks. Now in his mid-40s, Beck had become Earth's most experienced diplomat. He had negotiated with 23 different species and helped create a unified structure for the growing alliance. At a conference on Demeter, Beck presented the latest version of the First Contact Protocol to representatives from 30 non-council worlds. "This document represents our shared values," he explained to the diverse gathering. "Partnership without subjugation, mutual defense and development, cultural exchange based on respect." A Trillari representative stood, her tall, slender, form towering over the human. "The council races offered us technology in exchange for resources. Then they took everything and left us to die. Why should we believe humans are different?" Beck nodded. "A fair question. The difference is this. We were rejected by the council. 2. We know what it means to be deemed unworthy. We don't seek to build an empire of subjects but an alliance of equals." The Trillari considered this. "Your actions with my people support your words. When the Zelar came, you risked exposure to defend us. And we would do it again," Beck said firmly. As the conference continued, reports arrived from across the region. The Zelar Imperium had increased military patrols. The Vosh Confederacy had strengthened trade restrictions on smaller council races. They were searching for the mysterious force that had challenged them. Grace Sullivan, now the head of All Shadow, Alliance Intelligence Operations, met with Admiral Martinez in a secure room beneath Demeter's capital. "The Council can't ignore us much longer," Grace said, reviewing the latest reports. "The Zelar have sent scout ships into regions they've never bothered with before." Admiral Martinez studied the star map. "How many systems are part of our alliance?" "Now? 35 species across 87 star systems," Grace replied, "plus another 40 outposts and mining operations." "And Earth?" "Still maintaining the pretense of Council restrictions," Grace said. "But it won't last. Too many ships are moving between systems now. Someone will make the connection eventually." "Admiral," Martinez nodded slowly. "Then we need to be ready when they do." The Admiral initiated a new program called Defense Grid. Alliance worlds began building hidden weapon platforms and sensor arrays. Ships patrolled the borders of Alliance space. Training centers were established to prepare crews for potential conflict. On Earth, the situation was becoming difficult to manage. For 30 years, humanity's home world had pretended to accept Council restrictions while secretly building an interstellar alliance. Now the Council was asking uncomfortable questions about Earth's industrial output and energy usage. President George Wilson, Earth's newest leader, met with William Parker, who, despite his advanced age, still advised on covert operations. "The Council has requested permission to inspect our lunar facilities," the President said. "They suspect we're violating containment agreements." Parker shook his head. "We can't allow that. The lunar shipyards are too important. If we refuse, they'll know something is wrong," the President pointed out. "They already suspect," Parker replied. "The question is whether we're ready for them to know the truth." The decision was made to accelerate the Alliance's plans. If discovery was inevitable, they would choose the time and manner of revelation. 3 months later, the Zelar discovered one of the Alliance's newer outposts. A small research station orbiting a gas giant was spotted by a patrol ship that had strayed from its normal route. The human crew evacuated before they could be captured, but they left behind evidence of advanced technology. The Zelar military responded immediately, sending a battle group to secure the area. What they found shocked them. The system was protected by defense platforms more advanced than their own technology. When they attempted to destroy these platforms, Alliance ships appeared from multiple directions. The resulting battle was brief but decisive. The Alliance ships disabled the Zelar vessels without destroying them, then departed, leaving the confused Zelar crew with a simple message. The regions beyond Council space are not unoccupied. They are protected. News of the encounter spread quickly through Council space. The mystery power that had helped the Trillari was real and apparently widespread. The Council called an emergency session, demanding that member races report any contact with this unknown civilization. On Demeter, Alliance leaders gathered to discuss their next steps. The room was filled with humans and representatives from other species, Trillari, Nirvans, and many others who had joined the Alliance. "We can't hide anymore," Admiral Martinez said. "Now we must decide. Do we continue defending our space and gradually reveal ourselves? Or do we make a bold statement to the entire galaxy?" Lisa Howard spoke up. "The Council fears what it doesn't control. That's why Earth was rejected. That's why they abandon worlds like Nerva. I say we show them what they've been missing. The Alliance prepared for its greatest challenge yet. Stepping out of the shadows and facing the Galactic Council not as supplicants but as equals. The empire humanity had built in secret was about to reveal itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. 50 years had passed since Earth's rejection from the Galactic Council. In that time, humanity had built something remarkable. The Shadow Alliance now included over 200 star systems and 35 different species. Many had been rejected or exploited by the Council, just as Earth had been. Admiral Nicole Martin stood on the bridge of the Northern Light, the largest ship in the Alliance fleet. At 53, she had spent her entire adult life in space. Her short gray hair framed a face marked by experience but not hardened by it. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her first officer said. Nicole nodded. "Send the signal. It's time." Across Alliance space, ships of various designs began moving toward a single destination: Alpha Centauri, home of the Galactic Council chambers. This was not an invasion force. It was a diplomatic mission, but one backed by impressive strength. On Earth, President Andrew Foster prepared to address the global population. At 62, he would be the first Earth leader to openly acknowledge the alliance that had been built in secret for half a century. "Citizens of Earth," he began, his image broadcast to every corner of the planet. 50 years ago, the Galactic Council rejected our world and imposed restrictions meant to contain us. Today, we end the pretense of acceptance. He paused, letting the words sink in. For generations, we have built in secret, exploring regions of space the Council ignored. We have made friends with civilizations they abandoned. We have developed technologies they never imagined. The President's voice grew stronger. The Council feared what humanity might become. In doing so, they created exactly what they feared. Except, our empire is built on cooperation rather than conquest. As he spoke, the Alliance fleet appeared at Alpha Centauri. Over 200 ships from dozens of worlds positioned themselves in perfect formation outside the Council's defensive perimeter. The ships did not charge weapons or make aggressive moves. They simply waited. The Council chambers erupted in panic. Representatives from 300 species argued about how to respond to this sudden appearance. The Zelar demanded immediate military action. The Vosh Confederacy called for negotiations. Smaller Council races looked on in fear and confusion. Council leader Mira, a member of a long-lived species that valued patience, called for order. "We must understand what we are facing before we act," she said firmly. "Send a communication to the lead vessel." On the Northern Light, Admiral Martin received the Council's message. "They're asking for our identity and purpose," her communications officer reported. "Tell them we represent the Shadow Alliance and we request an audience with the full Council," Nicole replied. Inside the Council chambers, Benjamin Harris prepared to address the gathering. At 45, he was John Miller's successor as Earth's representative, though for decades the position had been mostly ceremonial. Earth remained technically under Council authority, even as it secretly built the alliance. Harris wore a simple blue uniform with a small insignia on his chest, a stylized shadow of Earth with stars surrounding it, the symbol of the alliance. He stood before the same chamber where humanity had been rejected half a century earlier. This time he did not come to request admission. "Distinguished representatives," he began, his voice calm but firm. 50 years ago, this Council feared humanity's potential. You banned Earth from galactic affairs and restricted our development. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various alien representatives. You believed you had contained us. Instead, you forced us to find our own path. In the regions you ignored, we discovered civilizations you abandoned. Together, we built something new, an alliance of equals rather than subjects. The chamber was silent as Harris continued. The Shadow Alliance now encompasses 200 star systems and 35 species. We have developed technologies you don't possess and established trade routes you don't control. We have become exactly what you feared, a power beyond your authority. The Zelar representative, High Admiral Krav, rose in anger. This is an admission of deliberate violation of Council restrictions. Earth must be punished. Harris remained calm. The restrictions were unjust from the beginning. They were designed not for galactic stability but to prevent competition. He turned to address the entire chamber. We do not come seeking war. We come offering a choice. The old Council model of central control and hierarchical authority is failing. Smaller worlds are exploited for resources then abandoned. Innovation is stifled by restrictions. Cooperation is replaced by compliance. On view screens throughout the chamber, images appeared showing alliance worlds, humans working alongside Trellari, Nervans living on restored planets, new technologies that combined the strengths of multiple species. We propose a new galactic compact, Harris continued, one where cooperation replaces control and innovation is valued over tradition, where all species have the right to develop at their own pace without exploitation. From the gallery, Grace Sullivan watched the proceedings. Now in her 70s, she had lived to see the Shadow Alliance emerge from hiding. Beside her stood Jason Beck and other architects of the Alliance. "They're afraid," Beck whispered. "They should be," Grace replied. "We represent everything they tried to prevent." As Harris concluded his address, he delivered the Alliance's position clearly. "You banned Earth from your council, so we built something better. You can join us, or you can fade into irrelevance. The choice is yours." In the days that followed, the council faced its greatest crisis. The Zeelar and Vosh, who had dominated proceedings for centuries, demanded military action against the Alliance. But many smaller council races began secret negotiations with Alliance representatives. What the council didn't know was how deeply Alliance influence had already penetrated their systems. For decades, Grace Sullivan's intelligence network had established connections throughout council space. Many worlds already depended on trade with Alliance systems without realizing it. When the Zeelar attempted to assemble a punitive fleet, they discovered something shocking. Key resources they needed came from suppliers who had already aligned with the Shadow Alliance. Alternative trade routes had made many council races quietly dependent on Alliance commerce. One by one, worlds began to break from council control. Some openly joined the Alliance. Others simply declared independence from council restrictions. The old galactic order was crumbling. 3 months after the Alliance revealed itself, a new galactic compact was signed. Most former council races joined, accepting the principles of mutual respect and cooperation. The Zeelar and their closest allies held out briefly before economic necessity forced their capitulation. On Demeter, Admiral Nicole Martin met with the original architects of the Alliance, the aging leaders who had guided humanity's response to rejection 50 years earlier. "We did it," William Parker said, now in his 90s but still sharp-minded. "We built an empire no one saw coming." Dr. Eliza Daniels, over a century old and supported by medical technology developed in Alliance labs, smiled. "Not an empire of conquest. An empire of ideas." Nicole looked out the window at the bustling city below, where humans walked alongside a dozen alien species. "The Council feared we would change the galaxy. They were right. The empire humanity built wasn't one of planets and resources, but of cooperation and potential. Earth had been rejected because the Council feared human adaptability and innovation. In the end, those same qualities had created a better galactic society, one built on partnership rather than power, on mutual growth rather than control, and it all began with a rejection that removed the chains of conformity.